Hey, I'm Ryan Palmer, and welcome to another Bike Magazine Bible of Bike Tests roundtable video. We're here in Marquette, Michigan, and I'm standing here with Kristen Butcher and Travis Engel. And right now we're talking about the Niner Jet 9 RDO with the 3-star build.
And now we're saying Niner as in it's the brand Niner. This bike,
yes,
yeah, in the parlance of our times, is not a Niner. It is a 27 plus bike.
That's true.
Yeah, which is huge. I mean,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. 29 bikes can go 27 plus, especially with a 2.8 tire like this one has.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a unique approach to it compared to the other bikes that we tested here. It's 120 rear, 140 front.
Yep.
Which I thought was really cool. All these other brands, all they rely on is the little spacer in the front to bring the fork out to the length that it kind of needs to make up for that slightly smaller wheelbase. They put a little longer fork in the front. So it, I think, makes it a little more capable for a bike that's only 120 in the rear, but it still climbs like a 120 mil bike. Like I felt like this is something that has a lot of get up and go for a 27 plus bike climbing.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was a really efficient climber as well. I felt like the suspension, I don't know, it felt like almost primitive to me. So
we talked about this. I know what you're saying. I would use the word simple. There are suspension designs that have this perfect balance of being ultra active and you don't feel anything that you're pedaling over. I kind of felt like this one errs on the side of efficiency. If you're pedaling up rough stuff, it relies on the tires to take care of that. It's not a super supple climbing bike. It's one that gives you the power that you put into it.
Yeah,
definitely on technical ascents. I feel like this bike did its job. I sometimes struggle in that area just because I don't always have the power that I want. And with this bike, with the tires, the 2.8s, the Maxxis Raycons, I really enjoyed them because I felt like they rolled fast enough for me, but they could hold on to that traction where I really needed it. So in places where I felt like the rear tire might start slipping, I could put a little bit more weight on the front and count on that rear tire to not slip.
For sure, but you know, to that point, I felt like those plus size tires were sort of rescuing me in certain positions. And like, yeah, you could go up really, really steep stuff on the bike, but I had to scoot forward a lot on the saddle in order to do that. And I actually wound up moving my saddle forward because I felt like maybe the seat angle could use a little bit of a steepening. Like if this were my ideal bike, it'd have a little bit steeper seat angle.
True, true.
And I think across the board, the geometry on this bike is relatively conservative. Like a few other bikes, this isn't one that's looking to be on the outlying edge of the geometry frontier. Like this is something it's just a kind of normal feeling bike. So the people that are kind of anxious about this, every bike has to be an inch longer than it was last year. This bike doesn't necessarily follow that. It's just kind of a capable, nice feeling geometry.
Yeah, I mean, it is a well-rounded trail bike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And on the descents, I think my favorite thing about it was that it had that little bit of extra travel in the front. Being so conservative in the rear, it's not something that you can just stay neutral on and plow through. It's something that likes to be finessed a little bit.
Yeah, you dance around the trail with it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to avoid certain things. You can't just like plow through stuff as much.
Yeah, and that little extra front travel gets you out of trouble. But yeah, it's a dancer. It's a tiny dancer.
It's a tiny dancer.
And for me, obviously, being on the more pocket-sized model of human, sometimes bikes that you guys have plenty of ability to be nimble on, I will struggle with. But this was one of those bikes between the geometry and I felt like it was a nice weight. I felt like I could make it dance as well.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. But you know, this bike also comes as a Niner as well, right? Mm-hmm. And you've ridden both bikes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious to know like which one you prefer.
I spent a while on this thing as in the 29-inch version. Yeah. And actually it was kind of when I was starting to get to know my backyard of the San Gabriel Mountains. And I did a lot of exploring on this bike. And the quickness of it and kind of the XC-oriented feel of the 29-inch wheels was perfect for exploring. And I think if I were looking at the Niner Jet 9, I think that it shines a little more in the 29-inch version, personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, sometimes I feel maybe like, you know, since it is a shorter travel bike, having those plus-size tires, you know, does add capability, does add traction. So in a way, I mean, I haven't ridden the 29er version, but.
And definitely for me, this is one of those bikes where, you know, I ride the bikes, I write down my opinions of it before I look up the specs, because I don't want to be swayed into what a 120-inch travel bike should feel like. And this is one of those bikes where I saw that number and it did surprise me. But again, it's 2.8 tires. I do expect it to feel a little bit more cush, which is exactly how I felt.
And so we rode this bike next to a couple bikes that are a little more cush.
Right, we had this the Spot Mayhem Plus bike, right? And we also had the Rocky Pipeline.
And I went into this expecting like this is going to be my perfect 27 plus bike. And this is something that I can't stress enough to people who are thinking about a 27 plus bike, is that you need to ride a few of them. Like, this is such a new category that everyone is going to have a really unique and fundamentally different feel to them. And this one is one take on it.
And to that point as well, the last time I rode a Plus bike was 2 years ago. And what I found is even over these past 2 years, these bikes have changed a lot. I feel like they're really starting to nail down the tires, they're starting to nail down the suspension. So even if you did ride a bike a couple of years ago and weren't so in love with it, it'd be worthwhile demoing one again.
Yeah, and out of the bikes that we tested, this one was the most XC feeling. To me, it was for sure.
Yeah, compared to the Spot Mayhem and the Rocky Mountain Pipeline.
And for me, this is a point I disagree slightly on, only because the Spot has a little bit of a steeper seat tube angle, so I felt a little bit more balanced in the middle. Whereas with this one, it had a little bit of a slacker head tube. So for me, I just felt great on the cross-country type of stuff, but I felt like this one excelled a little bit better on the downhills.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, there you have it for the Jet 9. If you're interested in checking out some more Bike Magazine Roundtable videos, please subscribe to our channel.